If your toilet continuously runs down the back of the bowl here, then it could be one of several problems. And what I'll do today is talk about how to diagnose what the cause is, and then some ideas on how to fix the cause. This is the sort of thing that I'm talking about. You see, it should have stopped running, but it's continuing to run, so that's not right. So we'll go through the basic anatomy of the toilet first, just so you know what I'm talking about, and then I'll give you some ideas on how to fix the problem. So just to run through the basic anatomy of the toilet, first of all we've got obviously the bowl of the toilet, and then we've got the cistern. Now this particular cistern is a Caroma Stylus. It has two buttons, a half flush and a full flush. And then if you come and look down here, this is the stopcock that lets water in from the water supply into the bottom of the toilet. And if you look up there, you'll see a connection. Obviously if the stopcock's not on, you're not going to get water in the toilet. And then if we take the lid off the cistern, and I'll just turn it over so you can see what's underneath. Underneath we've got two little push rods, one for the half flush and one for the full flush. And if you look here, this is the flush mechanism, and that's the half flush and that's the full flush. So when you push those buttons down, what happens is you depress those two, and then water runs from the cistern coming out the bottom here and into the bowl, and it runs through very rapidly when you push those. Now on this side here we've got our inlet valve, and attached to the inlet valve is a little float. You can see that moving up and down, and what that float does, it allows water from the stopcock to flow via this inlet valve into the toilet cistern tank. And when it reaches a certain level, this float will rise and it will lift this lever here, this little lever here. It'll lift this lever and that will shut off the inlet valve. So that's about all the anatomy you need to know at the moment. Right, the first possible cause for water running down the back of the bowl into the toilet is if these push rods are too long. They might be putting pressure on the button when you don't want pressure there. So if that's the case, I'll show you what happens. Okay, so if I just press lightly on this, you can see water's starting to run through there. So that's what will happen if your push rod is too long. So all you have to do is cut your push rod a little bit shorter, and then that'll fix that problem. So that's probably the easiest one to fix. Now the second possible cause of water continuously running into the bowl of the toilet is a faulty inlet valve. Either the valve, which has got a washer in there, is not working properly, or the setting for the float level is not correct. If you don't set your float level correctly, then this might run continuously. And if it does, if your float level is too high, if you look here, this is an overflow mechanism. So if the water rises too high because it's continually coming in through the inlet, then it'll overflow into this overflow pipe, which ends up in the back of the toilet, and you see water running down the back there. Now adjusting the float level is pretty easy. You just put a screwdriver in there and you can go up or down with that. Now also, if you've got a leaking valve, if this valve is leaking because the washer's worn or the valve itself is not working properly, you normally hear this hissing sound, and it doesn't stop, it just keeps going. Can you hear that? So you get that sound going the whole time, and then you can see it's going into the overflow now. And that'll end up in the toilet bowl. So important to have that all set up properly. The way to diagnose it is to just shut off your stopcock down the bottom there. If you shut that off, then after a minute or two, you'll find it stops running. So that's one way to distinguish whether it's the inlet valve or the flush mechanism that's leaking. Now, if your flush mechanism is faulty, there's something wrong with the mechanics of the flush mechanism. Sometimes what's happened, like with this one, you'll find it's usually the one that you use the most, and in our case, it's the half flush. So if I press the half flush, you see it's continuously running because it's not popping back up. And then if I jiggle it, it stops. And that usually means the mechanism in there is worn and you need to replace this top section of the flush mechanism. I'll show you how to get that off, and then we can have a look at that together. But you could try, just when you've taken this off, go outside into the garden and try and spray this with a garden hose, try and clean out any grit inside the mechanism, because that could be causing it. But in this case, because it's the one that we use the most, I'm pretty sure it's because it's worn. But if you look right down here, and there you can see some grits collected in there, so that's a possibility. And obviously when you're servicing this whole thing, clean out that grit so that it can't get into your mechanism. Now, to remove this mechanism, it's best to switch off your stopcock first. Stop water coming in. Then flush a full flush. You see the water's dropped right down now. So now I can just try and get this off. You just twist it, and then you wiggle a bit, and it should come up like that. Okay, and then if you pull that up, this is your flushing mechanism here. And at the bottom, you'll see there's a little washer. Sometimes just replacing that washer is all you need, but not in this case, because it comes right when you jiggle it. So, and if you look down the bottom here, the washer fits on a seat right down there. Just make sure there's no grit on that seat. And then I've got a new one, and we'll replace it. Right, here's the new one. There's the old one. Now the new one comes with the whole flush mechanism. Now I'm only going to replace the top of the flush mechanism, which is this piece here, because it's a lot easier. If you want to replace the whole thing, you've got to take the cistern right off the toilet and fit this washer and this screw mechanism onto there. So that's a lot more work. So if you don't have to do that, it's much easier. So we'll just separate the new one like that. So now we've got the two the same. I'll put that down there. And then this is obviously a brand new washer, so I don't have to do anything there. And then we just put it back on. Right, and we'll just put it back on. Just make sure you get it the right way around. This blue thing goes at the back, so I've got that. And then you can see these little lugs here. They line up in there. Those little lugs line up with that little groove there. So just make sure you've got all that lined up. We put it like that, and then give it a twist clockwise like that. It's in place. Make sure obviously the half flush, the blue one, is on the same side as the half flush of your lid. So it's always on your left, the blue half flush. And then you turn on your valve again, and you can hear it running in. Now it's just a matter of testing it. I'll just test the half flush because that was the one that wasn't working. Shuts off beautifully. So that's fantastic. It's working perfectly. And it doesn't cost a lot. I mean, I got that for about $50. So it's not a train smash. So rather than try and fix it or fiddle inside, don't even bother. I mean, if the hosepipe trick works and you get some grit out of it and it's fine, that's fine. But as I said to you, mine is probably worn, so just as well to replace it. Now finally, if your toilet is continuously running after flushing and jiggling these buttons doesn't help, or switching off the stopcock doesn't help because you've got water in the tank, then it's most likely a leaking valve right at the bottom. This valve mechanism here at the bottom that I'm talking about. So it can either be this washer, which I'll show you how to replace it in a minute, or if the washer's all right, you've got a seat that the washer flushes against. So if there's any damage to that seat, it'll also leak, and changing the washer is not going to help. Now sometimes that seat it's quite sharp. It can put a groove in the washer, and I've heard of people just turning the washer over, and that sometimes works. But these washers are so cheap. If you can just get the correct washer and replace it while you've got it apart, you've gone to all that trouble. Don't try and take a shortcut. It's much better to do it properly. Right, I'm just going to show you. I've got to put the camera on the tripod. I'm just going to show you how to change that seat washer. Now previously I've done a video on how to change these seat washers, but on an older style Caroma. So if you've got an older one, just have a look in the description or on top of the screen at the moment. Give you a link to that other video that shows you how to do the older style. Okay, now for this one, it's much the same. It's almost like a buttonhole. So there's the button, and here's the material of the buttonhole. So you just have to pull it. Sometimes it's quite tight. So getting old now, my hands are getting weak. So you pull it like that until it pops over. Can you see that? Comes straight off. Okay, and then if you're going to turn it over, obviously you do that. You can inspect it and you can see if there's any groove worn into the washer. But you could turn it over and then do it again. So you just basically, it's like putting on a button, but it's quite a stretch. So I'll just put it on a carpet. And I've got this nail file just to keep it open while I'm trying to put the washer on. So let's have another go. It's a lot better. I'll push that out the way. Okay, there we are, done it. So that worked. It was sliding around, and this thing was going down, so I didn't have space to get the washer in. So just a little spacer like this nail file is all you needed. Now in my next video, I'm going to show you how to replace the washer in the inlet valve and to replace the whole inlet mechanism itself, and also how to adjust it to get the float level correct. Now if you found this useful, please like and share this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. And if you have any comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Just scroll right down to the bottom and you'll find the comment section there. Thank you very much for watching.